Welcome to another episode of the Retro Craptacular podcast, where each month we are continuing our search for the best bad movies on the planet Earth. I am your humble host, Aaron, and I am joined once again by Matt.
Thank you.
We are Canadian. I don't know if everyone necessarily knows that.
Here's a true
listens
fact,
to the
though.
show, but we are Canadian, and we are celebrating 150 years of Canada this year, and so we thought we should do a Canadian movie. And so I looked at so many Canadian movies to try and find one
Yeah. Are there any
that would fit.
any honorable mentions?
Here, okay. I almost did a movie called Gooby, which was
I'm already sold.
a movie about a kid's teddy bear that comes to life,
Oh boy.
and it looks absolutely awful. But it's been done on a couple of bad movie podcast kind of things already. And then I was looking at, there's two kinds of movies that Canadians make, like real intense, like coming of age dramas, often in French,
Oh yeah.
or raunchy sex comedies like Porky's,
Oh,
How to Plan an Orgy in a Small Town,
I'm not familiar with that one.
a movie called Young People Fucking.
That's straightforward.
Very on the nose. So I looked at all kinds of stuff, or movies about hockey, inspirational movies about hockey.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Those are the three categories of Canadian movies. And in like the 80s, we did a bunch of like slasher movies and stuff, like Prom Night. The original Prom Night was Canadian, which I didn't know.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
And the original My Bloody Valentine was also Canadian.
Uh-huh.
So I thought about doing one of those, but then I found out. Oh, I also looked at Score, the hockey musical, but I had already seen that, and I know that it's not very good. And I wanted to do something that I had never seen before also. And then I found out that in 2014, there was a slasher movie musical starring Meatloaf. It was 100% Canadian funded, shot in Ontario. And I thought that just fits so well with everything that we strive for here on this show. So I went with that.
Yeah. I remember you pitching this to me for our next episode, and all I really remember was musical and Meatloaf and something about horror. I was totally in.
Yeah, because originally we were going to watch an Australian movie, and then I was like, you know what? We should probably watch something Canadian for this episode, since Canada 150. Everyone's making a big deal about it. It's really, really tacky. And everywhere you go, you can buy shit with flags, Canadian flags all over it.
Oh yeah.
So
all my neighbors' banners of flags and everything.
I'm so glad that it's mostly over now. Now we just have to deal with the half price all fall Canada swag for the next couple weeks.
That'll be going on for a while.
Yeah. So without further ado, this month we watched Stage Fright.
All of life's a song to sing, so sing with all your heart.
I have to get dressed. We can't do this now.
Be safe, preparing for opening night. Rehearse all day, it all must be perfectly right.
Welcome to Limelight.
I think about Mom a lot. Maybe this is what I'm supposed to do.
You actually want to compete with those theater geeks? Those kids aren't normal, Ken.
Artie will be announcing this summer's Limelight production.
Hopping of the opera.
Your mother's role.
She would be proud.
What is at the heart of haunting?
A love story about...
It's about covering up who you really are.
There has been an accident.
maybe there's somebody out there that really doesn't want him to put on this play. Cam, do you think this is connected to your mom?
Isn't it wrong to sing and dance when someone just died?
Camilla, where are you?
There's a killer in the theater!
So, Stage Fright, as we explained, was a horror slasher musical which stars Meatloaf. And I don't think we'll get too much into the plot because there's not a whole lot of plot that happens.
Yeah, I feel like there wasn't a lot of plot. There wasn't a lot of dialogue. There wasn't too much singing.
No,
And
there
I'm
was
thinking
definitely
back-
not enough musical numbers
Yeah,
in
and
this
I'm
musical.
thinking back, just wondering what happened in this movie to make it as long as it was. At times, it's like, yes, this is a horror. Some stuff went down.
Oh, yeah.
I was legitimately grossed out.
Oh, there's
from
some
the horror,
gnarly kills.
and
like
that impressed me.
Yeah, the first kill is awesome. So it opens on a stage show. You don't know it's a stage show right away, but we both figured it out pretty fast.
Yeah.
A guy getting stabbed and wanders out, and a woman sort of sees him, and then she goes, "No!" And then you're like, "Ah, okay."
Yeah.
And
confirms that it's stage production.
It's a show called The Haunting of the Opera. And
Yeah, so
it's a big Broadway show. It's opening night. The lead actress is played by Minnie Driver, which we looked up what she was in. Like, I know she was the voice of Jane in the Disney Tarzan, and she was in Princess Mononoke.
Yeah.
But
Lady
she
Ibushi.
was in a live action thing too.
Oh shoot! Yeah, I forget now.
Do you remember
I totally recognize
Yeah.
her face. Like I've seen her in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And Minnie Driver is such a recognizable name.
And I'm just totally drawing a blank on what she's in.
After watching so many old, really crappy bottom of the barrel movies, seeing like a legitimate actress up on the screen, I was like, oh, this is throwing me for a bit of a loop. This could be a really good
Good Will
movie.
Hunting. She was in Good Will Hunting.
Yes.
And something else. But so anyway, she gets murdered in her dressing room after the
Oh no, she's in the movie of Phantom of the Opera.
Oh yes.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Right, that's what it was.
And
Phantom of
so
Opera.
the play that the plot kind of centers around is called The Haunting of the Opera, and it is a very obvious.
She's like the diva
rip-off.
one, right?
Yeah. She's
not the main one.
No, she's not the main girl. She's the diva who someone does something to her spray throat stuff, and her voice gets really low. It's very embarrassing. But anyway,
Oh
moving
right,
on.
yeah.
Poor Minnie.
So she's got two kids, twins, a boy and a girl, Buddy and Camilla, and she's in a relationship with Meatloaf, who is in this movie with a mustache,
Very
and
thick, like a cop
like
mustache.
a thick walrusy, cop
Good.
mustache. It's pretty good.
Not like Tom Selleck good, but you know,
nothing is Tom Selleck good.
that's
though.
true. Why'd I even bring it up?
Yeah,
So hot.
I mean, yeah, Meatloaf P.I. will not be on the air anytime soon.
Although I would watch it.
Oh yeah. So she's in a relationship with him, and so after the show, she's in her dressing room, and her kids come and say hi to her, and they're like, "Oh, Mom, you did so great." Blah blah blah. Daughter goes out onto the stage to sing to the empty theater.
Yeah, because her mom is like her idol.
She's her idol. She looks up to her, and while she's doing that, the murderer, wearing the costume of the Phantom from the show, enters her dressing room, and at first she thinks it's her lover, but then he stabs her in the throat a couple of times.
Right in the throat, yeah.
Right in the
So
throat.
she starts to scream, and then it gets in the throat. It's gruesome.
And then one right down her mouth, leaves the knife in her mouth, so it's like sticking out, and like smashes her head into the mirror. And she's dead.
Oh, yeah, it killed her.
Way dead.
Go figure.
Yeah. And then you jump 10 years later, and her daughter is, how old would you say they are in this? Like 18?
Yeah, I think so. Like they
18, 19? Something like that. They're pretty young. And they actually look pretty young.
Yeah,
which is nice for teenagers in a movie. You know, like you watch like the original Spider-Man, you're like, why are these 34-year-olds in high school? Like,
yeah, definitely.
So they actually look really young. The girl actually, I thought she looked a lot like a young Lindsay Lohan. I don't know. You brought up someone else.
Yeah, for some part of her face, I think it was like her nose or something. Part of her face, which reminded me of girl plays Robin in How I Met Your Mother.
Oh yeah, Colby Smulders.
Yes.
Well, they are both Canadian, so
so just a Canadian face.
Yeah, it's just Canada face. She has it.
Yeah.
Nothing. It's not. The movie isn't set in Canada, which I didn't realize.
Where was it set? I don't know.
I assume.
Think about it.
Well, they want to get back to Broadway in New York, and I assume that the camp is in like the Catskills or something like that.
Oh yeah,
like upstate New York or something along those lines. So, I just apologize in advance. My throat is not agreeing with me today. So if I sound kind of spooky sexy, it's not by design, but I'm going to roll with it.
But it is appreciated.
Oh yes. So I guess Meatloaf has adopted what's his name? Like Ron or something like
Roger?
that? Roger.
I think his character was Roger, but you know what? Just call him Meatloaf.
Mr. Loaf.
That's what I thought every time I saw him on screen.
Yeah, because it's Meatloaf.
Yeah.
Meatloaf has not produced a show on Broadway since that murder happened, and instead he's opened a camp for theater kids to come to in the summer. It's like a musical theater camp. And
that's kind of our first big musical number is all the kids arriving at this camp.
Yeah.
Singing about how they're free to be themselves because they're all like the weird artsy kids.
Yeah.
They love being at this camp because they can, express themselves and not get bullied.
One guy's singing about how he's gay, but not in that way. The musicals make him feel a certain way. But he loves women, as he likes to remind everyone. But he doesn't. No, he doesn't.
He's just fooling himself.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough.
And then there's the little girl with the lisp.
Oh my gosh.
That was really good. She's like singing about
all the
things that she's working on.
Yeah.
And of course they all have a lot of S's in them.
Yeah.
And then at the end she goes, and I'm working on my lisp. And it was really cute. Yeah, that was a good musical number. I really dug that one.
Yeah, my expectations kind of they came up a bit after that. It was like we had this opening scene. I was like, "Oh, Minnie Driver, cool. Oh, super gruesome murder. Oh, actually good musical number involving children actors." And I was like, "Oh, this is shaping up pretty dandy."
Yeah. So expectations are high.
Mm-hmm.
We're introduced to the creepy redneck groundskeeper, who becomes a suspect throughout part of the movie. It's not made clear who the killer is.
Yeah, there's an element of mystery about the whole thing,
which is kind of nice. And it sort of plays homage. The movie's really good at playing an homage to musicals. There's a lot of different sort of melodies that they borrow from big musicals. Jesus Christ Superstar was one of them. The Jesus Christ Superstar, who in the hell do you think you are? They borrowed that one. And then there was a Phantom of the Opera.
Oh, yeah.
Her audition song, Camilla's audition song was a Phantom of the Opera tune as well.
Yeah, I was trying to remember the name of it, and I can't quite.
Can you hum it?
Oh, or it was Music of the Night.
Right.
It was ripping off Music of the Night, and that's what it was.
Ping homage.
Ping homage, not ripping off, sorry. Yeah, no. It was all very intentional.
Yeah, no, yeah. Even, Haunting of the Opera, like it's not...
Yeah, they weren't trying to be secretive.
They're not burying the lead.
Yeah.
They're putting it right on Front Street. So, Camilla and her brother are the only two kitchen staff
in the entire
camp.
Full of so many theater kids.
And so they're in the kitchen and they spill a can of tomato sauce And Meatloaf comes in and gets real mad at them for making a mess. And Camilla kind of has like a shrine to her mother in the fridge, like the fridge door or the pantry door.
It looked like a fridge.
Yeah.
It had to be a pantry though.
Yeah.
Like, why would you put a picture inside of a fridge
with like a curtain almost, kind of bordering.
Oh yeah, maybe it look all
like,
fancy,
like a
and stuff.
scarf that she'd hung up to kind of make it look like a curtain, and had like the photo that her mother signed for her on opening night, saying like always sing and follow your dreams. Something
like
sing
that.
with all your heart. I don't know. So Camilla decides that well, first Artie gets the douchey director of the new play announces that the show that they're going to be mounting is Haunting of the Opera, which they haven't done in 10 years because it was the last show that Roger did on Broadway, and they're going to do it set in feudal Japan, and they're all going to be wearing kabuki masks.
Yeah.
Or as one of the guys calls them, bukkake masks, which is
brilliant.
Gross. And then Camilla decides that she's going to audition for the show.
Yeah, at first her and her brother are like really shocked and appalled
Mm-hmm.
that this play, that their mother got murdered after starring in is going to be happening. But then she decides to go for it, to try to get the part that her mother had.
Yeah,
Just
the part
always
of
had that part inside of her that wanted to be on the stage like her mom, right? Which
yeah,
she probably buried for a long time after the whole murder thing went down.
yeah, I can see how that would kind of put you off, the whole stage thing. I mean, the movie's it's called Stage Fright.
Oh yeah,
which is not really ever addressed in the movie at all.
Yeah, one person says stage fright once.
Yeah, which is fine. So yeah, then the rest of the movie is really, like we said, not a lot happens. There's Camilla auditions, she gets the part,
but only kind of.
Only kind of. There's
the other girl who thought she was going to be the obvious lead.
Mm-hmm. Liz,
who makes a comment because douchey director bozo jackass
already gets
it in the end. Oh,
yes, he does.
I hate him.
Yeah,
I was disgusted by his character.
Oh, and you're supposed to be.
Yeah, he gives himself the lead role. Directors shouldn't be acting in their own. That's.
He gives himself the lead role
on a stage play. Movies, there's a lot of flexibility there. But
he's an egotistical douche.
Yeah, and then the girl who's shoo-in for the lead makes a comment about how he gave himself the lead role because he likes to kiss her.
Yeah, she's like, he probably just wanted to make out with me again.
Yeah, which is kind of disgusting.
Yeah. He's a gross, creepy perv. And so anyways, the two of them both get cast, and because there's going to be two productions. There's opening night and then another show the night after. But the scouts from New York are coming on opening night.
Yeah, and douchey butt sniff is not telling them which is going to be which. And so a lot of the struggle for the most part, the plot is the struggle of who's going to be
the lead
on opening night. For the middle part of the movie, that's the struggle. And basically, director douchey McFartblossom makes it pretty clear that he's going to give it to whoever puts out the most.
Yeah,
it's real creepy.
After the first rehearsal, he invites Camilla into his dressing room, whips out a couple of martinis that were just sitting in his closet in a tiny diorama of a stage.
Yeah, he pulls out this little stage, and then he goes to pull the cord, and he says, "Tension," and then he pulls it and says, "And release." And I'm just like, wow, this guy needs to get kicked in the balls.
Yep. And then just immediately starts trying to make out with her. And she's like, "Whoa, what are you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, well, I just figured." She's like, "Oh, right, because we have to kiss in the show." Duh.
Yeah, but she's like,
But she's
obviously
like,
taken aback by it.
Yeah.
Shouldn't we save it for the stage or something?
Yeah,
like
let's
that?
I wanted to
Save it for the moment.
save the magic.
Save the magic for the
Something
moment.
like- yeah.
And then he just like acts like she's done something wrong.
Yeah.
Like so bad. I hate this. You have to talk about it.
Okay. So this kind of goes back and forth. Like she walks in, she's late for rehearsal one day, and she walks in, and Artie and Liz are just like making out during rehearsal, and he kind of is like, "You were late," and then it kind of goes back and forth with them singing this number. And there's kind of like a musical montage of like both of them rehearsing the lead part and also doing more and more sexual things with Artie in his dressing room. And it gets to the point where Camilla is in the dressing room with Artie and he is just gonna go for it.
Yeah, making out gets horizontal.
Mm-hmm. And she's like, wait. Like, can't do this. I'm not ready. I think she says, like, it's not that I don't want to. I want to wait for the right night, like, after opening night. And he's like, whatever. And, like, does up his pants and walks out. And then she's like, wait.
Oh, yeah, he tells her that he thought she might have what it takes to be a star, but apparently not. Because what being a star means is sleeping to get ahead in Artie's mind.
Yeah. Well, and probably also in show business.
Well, I'm sure it happens, but we don't condone that.
Yeah, no. So as he's leaving, she's like, wait. He comes back in. She takes off her shirt. They start going at it. And then we see like the door open and we get like a POV shot of someone peering in. And for whatever reason, once again, Camilla's like, I can't do this.
Yeah, she backs out.
She's like, I'm going to go back to my room. Or are you going to be mad if I go back to my room now? And he goes, I don't know. Are you going to be mad if I give Liz the part on opening night? And she's like, whatever, leaves, and Artie's like, oh yeah, don't worry about me, I'll lock up. And that's when he gets it.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of suspects that we should throw out there. There is
the groundskeeper.
The groundskeeper who doesn't say anything.
He does
in the
not
whole
have
movie.
a single line. He just kind of looks like a creepy or filch.
Which was the one thing that that made me think like, oh, he is the killer, maybe? Because he's too obvious to be the killer.
Yeah.
So
right
I'm like,
away.
So I'm like, he's a clear red herring. But then you never hear him say anything, but you do hear the killer singing. And so I'm like, okay, so we don't know what his voice sounds like.
So even though our first instinct was, it's obviously not him, there was still that little bit of doubt.
Yeah.
Which I really enjoyed that about the movie.
And the killer sings like Axl Rose.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Like, it's every time the killer's singing, it's like heavy metal, 80s heavy metal, rock and roll music, and he's singing like Axl Rose, and it's pretty great.
It's incredible. I think
so. You're like, all right, well, maybe it could be the groundskeeper. The next suspect is Justin. No.
Jeff. John. Were you right the first time?
Maybe. I can't.
Joshua.
Jared. I don't know. Begins with
Jared.
Let's call him Josh.
Let's call him Jared.
Jared. He is.
Call him Muffler Kid.
Yeah, he's in 2 episodes of Corner Gas.
Yeah, just to throw that out there. I recognized him as an extra from Corner Gas, and that made me very happy.
So he's in love with Camilla, and he has a couple lines during one of the songs about how he's
wants to make her his, but also like wants to make sure that Artie doesn't make her Artie's.
Yes,
like he's very much opposed to Artie imposing himself sexually on her,
and so he's in charge of rigging the lights and everything, and so he's in the he's setting up the lights in one scene, and in the next scene, when Artie kind of goes out onto the stage, the spotlights start dropping and almost hit him.
Yeah, this is after
Camilla leaves. Yeah,
pushed him away.
Yeah, and so the killer comes out on stage, and one of the lights falls, and the clamp kind of like stabs into his foot.
Yeah,
and keeps it
pinned to the
stage so we can't move. And then the killer comes out wearing the Phantom costume, the kabuki mask, and the robe,
and like wild black
the
hair,
wild wiry black hair that's in the show that's set in feudal Japan. And you wrote down all the one-liners and stuff, right?
Yeah. So he pulls out some like crazy saw blades, and it gets so gruesome. What he does, the first thing he does is just slowly start to push Artie over.
Yeah,
because his foot is clamped down, and it's just like we get this shot of it looks like the foot is just starting to break because he can't bend down that far.
Yeah,
with his foot flat on the ground, right? And then he kind of like lets him back up a little bit, and Artie kind of has that moment of relief. And then the killer says, "Break a leg!" and then kicks him, and part of his foot breaks off.
Yeah, so like the front half of his foot gets ripped off, and he starts crawling towards a trunk labeled swords,
which we did see in a previous scene.
We were like, there's just a trunk that says swords.
Got to make sure you know where your sword trunk is, which is out on stage all of the time.
Yeah. But then the killer grabs him and shoves a lamp into his mouth. Like it's just a lamp.
It's a light bulb
on a lamp stand with no lampshade or anything. Just kind of like jams his mouth onto it, turns it on, and I guess the glass breaks and he gets electrocuted to death somehow.
Yeah, his face got all fried up.
Mm-hmm. But then in the next scene, you hear some of the campers talking, and they say that they found Artie Getz in pieces all over the stage. So probably some nasty stuff happened to him.
Yeah, and later, someone does actually find his head in a dumpster.
Right. Yeah.
So he was definitely cut to pieces, like after death.
So then Meatloaf gives a rousing song. This is like the second song in the movie, and we're like over an hour in.
Well, yeah, it was like the second actual musical sounding song.
It's the second. Well, because they're singing in the musical when they're like rehearsing for the play, but then there's also singing in real life, quote unquote, in the movie world. They'll just break into song sometimes.
Yeah, but not super often.
But not that often. It's very weird. So then they start singing about how the show must go on, and everyone's going, "Yay, the show will go on. We just won't tell anyone that the director got murdered until after opening night, because the show must go on."
And here is just the weirdest and biggest oversight of the entire movie is that the director was also the lead man.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's never addressed who takes his part.
No.
Ever.
They just they show a few scenes of the play going on.
Yeah.
And there's no one taking the lead male part, apparently.
Yeah.
Or I guess the Phantom is technically the lead male part, but like the love interest.
Alfonso.
Yeah.
I wrote it down in all caps. Who is playing Alfonso? Because it's never addressed. And so then the killer just proceeds to whack everyone in the cast during the show while it's going on. Every time they come off stage, He murders them. He murders the guy, or he murders the costume girl.
Yeah, the costume girl who like keeps all of her pins in like a mannequin head as her pin cushion.
Mm-hmm.
Someone like the guy who's playing the Phantom in the play. The guy who's gay but not in that way.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't pick up on that because how she dies.
Yeah, and so he goes in there and he's wearing his mask. He can't quite see who's in there, but it's the killer, and he takes off his mask and then he sees the costume girl with a bunch of nails stuck in her skull. And then, like just before he screams, the killer turns him around and says, "Nailed it!"
Yeah, in a high pitched voice, like he's not exaggerating when he does that. That's actually how he talks.
Like he's in a hair metal band. Or something.
Like he's
limousine.
Like he's talking the way like a 80s cock rocker would sing. That's the way he talks.
It's amazing.
And then he stabs him with scissors and says, "How's that for a quick change?"
Yep.
Which I guess kind of works.
I guess so. And then he like stomps on him, so the scissors go further through him.
Yeah. Well, because the guy was coming in and he's like, "Where are you? This is my quick change. I need help." And then, the killer gets him. And he gets Liz. Oh, no. He gets the blonde chick who is like, we haven't really mentioned her, but she's not really in it a whole bunch. She's like a supporting character, and she was helping Camilla with all like the tricks of the trade, like the vocal cord spray and like turning the shower on in your dressing room so that it gets all steamy so that at any point in the show you can just go in there and moisten your vocal cords, which I guess is a thing, and like eating honey and that sort of thing. So she's in there steaming up her vocal cords, and he
sneaks on in
and melts her face in the shower.
Yeah, he says...
he stabs her a bunch too, doesn't he?
"Let me help you warm up!"
Yeah.
And sticks her head in the shower, which I guess was scalding hot.
Yeah.
I guess so.
He slashes her, though, too.
Oh, yeah. Like the finishing move is more to do with the stabbing and slashing of the razor blade thing that he was holding.
Yeah. It's like a disc with sharp metal edges, like blades on it. Kind of looks like a saw blade, but it has like brass knuckles that are like a saw blade that you can use for like slashing and stuff.
I love how you did all of the hand motions for that description.
Yeah, obviously they got to do the hand motion so people know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
So she's dead, and then Liz is gonna get some Carrie-esque revenge on Camilla during her solo by dumping a bucket of red paint on her, but the killer grabs her and duct tapes up her mouth and puts her in costume and like ties her up so that she can only like hop, and then pushes her out on stage
in the Phantom costume. She's got the mask on.
In the Phantom costume, she got the mask on, so no one knows it's her. And then probably like the best comedy bit in the whole movie is that scene where the conductor doesn't know what to do because the Phantom missed his cue, so Camilla just kind of had to like back off stage awkwardly, and then the Phantom gets pushed out, and the stage manager is like, "Play something, like play anything," and so they start playing like comedy music. Yeah, and like well, at one point he just kind of like turns and like points at the vibraphonist with his,
I think it was a marimba.
Whatever.
It's no big deal.
Whatever. And he's like, he just like starts playing like, he's like, and then moves it. And he's like moves it down, and he's
it's kind of like shaking.
He's like shaking his baton.
Wand.
Yeah. And then, so that was great. That was probably the funniest part of the whole movie.
That scene takes a long time.
It goes so long
for the music to actually start up,
and then
the marimbist or whatever.
Yeah, and
oh my gosh,
we cut back to that, and because like the stage manager just like puts on like a Japanese like one of those like triangular hats that you see like farmers wearing when they're like working in rice paddies and stuff like that.
That's exactly what it makes me think of. Yeah,
keep the sun off you.
In the race.
I don't know exactly what they're made out of or what they're called, but you know, one of those. And proceeds to do a really weird, awkward dance with Liz in the Phantom costume for the next, like, half hour.
Yeah, however long that went on.
Continually
we cut away
cut
with it,
back to it,
yeah.
though. Like, so there'll be like a chase going on where Camilla's being chased by the killer, and then we'll just cut back to this happening, and it's still going, and the Broadway scout is just sitting there. Like, what the hell is going on? Like, I gotta get out of here. And then it'll cut back to, like, more murder happening and all kinds of stuff. So eventually Camilla finds the killer in the kitchen with the knife.
Yeah, and after he's killed a bunch of these actor people, he actually knocks.
I was trying to make a Clue joke.
Oh, sorry, I totally interrupted you.
No.
Would you like to finish?
No, I did. It just didn't come off that well.
No, I didn't.
No.
Yeah, he's knocked out Meatloaf and dragged him over to the kitchen.
Yeah.
And started, singing at him.
Yeah, and actually, like, pulls out an electric guitar at one point.
Oh, yeah, it's my favorite. He gets out his knife, and then he stabs it into the neck of an electric guitar, and then starts soloing.
Yeah.
It's freaking incredible.
And that's when Camilla walks in, and he's like,
holding the guitar, and he just stops. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's revealed that the killer is her brother.
Her twin brother.
Which we totally called.
Yeah, we saw it coming.
We were like, it has to be someone that doesn't want the show to go on. And, there's a couple of people, but the one that is the most motivation would be her brother. Because he would be messed up from having his mom murdered. And what we didn't guess, because we were like, it can't be Meatloaf. Because that would be another thing that's, like, too obvious. Kind of have Meatloaf, and also why would he be sabotaging his own show?
Yeah, it would make sense.
It doesn't, there's no motivation there.
And it can't be groundskeeper Willie, because, just too on the nose still,
like,
right?
Have the creepy guy.
And then the guy who's in love with Camilla, like, has motivation to kill Artie, but no one else.
But no one else. So
he seems like a pretty nice guy. He's just a little weird.
Yeah, and plus he keeps trying to get Camilla out of the show. Like, he's like, you can't do the show. There's a murderer here. People have been murdered. Don't do the show. It's probably going to try and murder more people.
And no one
and
listens
she's
to
like,
him.
no, I'm going to do the show.
Even though someone was just murdered.
Yeah.
But
just murdered the day before.
But Meatloaf sang a song, so everyone
so it's fine.
forgot about that. It's fine.
So the brother actually witnessed his mother murdered.
Yeah, something we didn't see coming.
No.
That's why he's so traumatized.
Yeah.
To be actually become the murderer. It makes it way more compelling.
And the reason he's trying to kill Meatloaf is because Meatloaf was the one that murdered his mother because she was having an affair with the New York Times play critic.
Yep.
And so he murdered her.
Yeah, we go back to the scene where she got murdered, and we see little Buddy. What was his name?
Buddy. Yeah.
Little Buddy, like near the coat rack or whatever, inside her dressing room, and she's like, "Oh no, Lionel or whatever." Leonard, something
like, I think, yeah.
Like, Roger will be back. He'll discover us, and then the guy in the mask is like, "I've already discovered you."
And he stabs her in the throat a bunch.
Yeah, and she's like, "Roger." Yeah, and then the whole murder thing happens right in front of him.
Yeah.
Like, so disgusting.
And then Meatloaf is like, your mother had an accident, and you're not going to say anything to anyone.
Yeah, he gets real abusive real quick.
Yeah, starts slapping the kid around. And so, for 10 years, I guess Buddy's been plotting his revenge. But of course, Meatloaf gets free and stabs Buddy a bunch till he's dead, and then chases Camilla around. They end up in an old wood shop, and she grabs a skill saw. He's about to try and kill her. He grabs her. She grabs a skill saw, and she like pushes into his chest and pulls the trigger, but it's not plugged in.
Yeah.
And that's when we see Josh. Sure, Josh. The guy who's in love with her comes in, and he's like, I could stop this, or I could just plug in the cord right now. So he plugs in the cord, and then she saws him up to death. It's pretty gruesome. It's pretty nasty. It's awesome. His intestines kind of fall out. And the saw stays stuck in him and stays going, even though she lets go of the trigger. But I'm willing to just go with it because it's pretty nasty and it's pretty awesome.
It was pretty darn nasty. Yeah.
And then he just unplugs the thing.
Just stop.
And the saw stops. And then
a very traumatized Camilla is like slowly backing up from this nastiness. But this was actually like part of the stage making area.
Yeah.
That's side stage.
Yeah.
So she backs out onto the stage where Liz is still there.
She's singing at this point.
I think she's just stopped singing.
Yeah, she kind of just finishes.
And then someone accidentally tripped over the wire of the red paint that she had put on there,
and
gets a taste of her own medicine. Gets
she pushes the stage manager off the stage because he starts singing with her, and she's like, "This is my solo, bitch," and pushes him off the stage. And he trips over the thing, gets the red paint dumped on her, a la Carrie, and then kind of like falls down. And as Camilla runs onto the stage, and she's like covered in blood and looks horrified, and then groundskeeper Willie gives her a standing ovation
for backing out on the stage, looking like shit, covered in blood, looking terrified completely, and then the audience gives a standing ovation.
Yeah,
started by groundskeeper Willie, and the critic, like from Broadway or whatever, that came to see the play.
Yeah,
just looked so impressed with her.
It's like nothing happened. It was a terrible show.
It was brutal.
And she did nothing.
Nope. Well, she was in a few scenes at the beginning, but then, you know, had the whole murder thing to deal with.
Yeah.
And then just looks scared shitless, and that was good enough for the critic guy, I guess.
And then it just cuts to they're relaunching the show on Broadway a year later. And she's the star. And there's like a brief moment where she freaks out because the killer wearing the kabuki mask bursts out of her dressing room mirror, but that turns out to just be all in her mind.
And the very last line of the musical, sung by Camilla's character, is something along the lines of, "This is all I've ever wanted, but now I'm forever haunted."
Right.
And so she's now a Broadway musical star, and she is very scarred for life. So awful.
Yeah.
It's so awful.
So, yeah.
Twin brother
yeah.
murdered in front of her by the guy who murdered
her mother, who was her idol.
Who she then ended up killing with a skill saw.
Yeah. What did you like about this? I have a couple things that I liked, but I'll let you start.
Well, it's okay. What I liked about it was like it. I feel like this movie had a lot of different aspects to it.
Mm-hmm.
That I feel was a good thing and a bad thing. So the good thing is it was part horror.
Yeah,
and
definitely
it did a pretty good job.
Yeah,
it was gruesome, and I mean to be fair, freak out somewhat easily. Like I can be grossed out pretty quickly by horror movies. But it legit grossed me out.
Oh yeah, no. Some of the kills are like really
super nasty, right?
Disgusting.
And so,
but like in a good way. It's almost always kind of campy.
Yeah.
The first one's pretty brutal, but after that they kind of get a little tongue in cheek.
Well, yeah, especially because of the murderer.
The one-liners, yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, part of it is horror, and that was pretty gross. And then a part of it is definitely comedy.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
There were a lot of laugh-out-loud moments.
Yeah. No, we laughed a good amount.
Yeah. Like, some of it was cute. You know, the singing of the song at the beginning, all the little kids about being who they want to be, being, you know.
Yeah, that was good. The band director not knowing what to do.
Yes,
that was the best scene in the movie.
My favorite character was the maestro.
Yeah.
So there's this one scene.
He doesn't do anything in the movie.
Yeah, not really, but he's amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's we mentioned the scene earlier where Camilla gets there late and Artie McDouchebag is making out with Liz, the other contender for the lead role. And so they're making out, and then it cuts to Camilla and her reaction, and then it cuts to them making out on the stage again, and then it cuts to some guy with a beard scratching it somewhat sensually as he watches.
Yeah. Yeah, doing like a weird, like sensual beard tug.
And he was kind of near a piano, I think.
Yeah.
And
we had seen him earlier because he was playing the piano during the auditions.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That's where he first came in. But it's like, why did it cut to him?
Yeah,
I don't know.
He's the band director. Well, because it was hilarious.
It looked so funny. And then with
such a great comedy beat.
With with the whole conducting thing and the marimbist, not understanding his cues as he's shaking his baton. Oh, that was funny. That's my favorite character. And then there's a portion of the movie that's, the whole, like, I don't know how to describe it. The whole thing with Artie and Camilla, like having to weigh her goals with her
morals.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
I was gonna say not putting out to a douchebag, but morals is more apt. Yeah, and I mean, there's that whole thing, and I appreciate the movie in that it made me totally revile that character. Like, I was so disgusted.
At
Artie.
He's pretty scummy.
I was like, yeah, that's well done.
Yeah.
Make me feel strong emotions. Good job, movie. And so it had all those different aspects to it, and I feel like individually I was in some way impressed by all of them. But then in a lot of ways it felt really disjunct. Like,
yeah, I know what you mean.
It wasn't all of those things together. It was all of those things separately. It was like, oh, now we're being funny again.
Yeah.
It's like when the first one-liner goes on, it's like, oh, shit's about to go down horror style. We've already seen a pretty damn gruesome murder. And then all of a sudden, break a leg! And he's all campy and weird. And I'm like, oh, is this funny? Or
I think, like, because it's a musical, I thought the musical numbers were actually done pretty well.
Yeah.
That was
the other aspect I forgot to mention. It was also a musical, and they were good. They were good musical numbers.
So, like, what you could have done, though, is, like, when he's murdering Artie, have him sing about it. Like, have him, like, do this whole, like, song and dance routine where he's, like, stabbing Artie and, like, smashing his face into the wall or whatever, and just, like, going over, like, all the ways you could kill someone and singing a song about it, and have it be, because then it's funny, it's horror, and it's a musical. It kind of all works together, because I don't think you could do a serious horror musical.
I doubt it.
That would never really work, I don't think. So, and this is kind of evidence of that. It kind of has a real issue balancing tone.
Yeah.
But, like, throw in musical numbers while he's murdering Artie. You could have other musical numbers. Musicals, people are supposed to sing what they're feeling, and that kind of doesn't happen a lot. There's a huge gap in the middle of the movie where there's just no singing.
Yeah, except for, like,
it's like La La Land.
Except for, like, the play.
Yeah. Except for the play.
Yeah, they're singing, like, the parts in the play, but that's not part of the musical, right? That's the musical in the musical, and that doesn't count because they're not singing about themselves.
No. So, that to me was
I did really like La La Land, though. I did.
Yeah, but there's, like, an hour in that movie where no one sings.
Yeah, it was very, very little
It kind of opens like a musical.
And then it isn't.
And then it isn't for a lot, and then she sings later. And they dance a couple times in between.
Yeah, there's some dance numbers.
Yeah. But no singing.
But that does remind me, actually, of just one of my favorite parts. During one of the murders, the "Let me help you warm up" shoves the face in the shower. And we cut back to, like, the dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun on stage with the funky music, and it cuts back to, like, the murder happening, and he can hear that music from the stage or whatever, and he's singing along.
Oh, yeah.
As he's killing her, he's like, yeah. That was funny.
And one of the clues to who the murderer was that I liked was that Camilla finds the body of her friend in the shower in their dressing room, and then she sees the murder weapon, and it's the top of a tin can that's been cut into blades and with finger holes.
Oh yeah, like a big tin can, like
an industrial sized thing of tomato sauce. They're like, the ketchup cans you can buy at Costco.
Like was spilled
earlier.
Yeah.
And he made a mess, and then Meatloaf had to clean it up.
Yeah.
That was some foreshadowing. And that's kind of one of the hints, like, oh, it's the brother. He made a weapon out of some can lids. I liked there's a couple references to other horror movies in here. Like we talked about the kind of the musical references already. Where they're referencing Jesus Christ Superstar and Phantom of the Opera and a couple other musicals. But there's the Carrie reference, obviously, when Liz gets the bucket of red paint dumped on her. It's very obviously referencing Carrie when she gets the pig's blood dumped on her at the end. And then just having it set at summer camp kind of makes you think Friday the 13th a little bit. But there's one kind of subtle reference that I really liked, and that's during one of the montages of the stage getting built. There's this kid with kind of wild curly hair, and he's wearing an apron, a black apron. I think he has a bow tie on. And he just raises this skill saw above his head and fires it up. And he's like, "Wow!" and then brings it down on a 2x4 and like cuts it down. And it's a total reference to like the end of Texas Chainsaw Massacre when the girl hops in the back of the truck and is driving away, and Leatherface kind of like runs out and like just holds the chainsaw above his head and then like starts dancing like a maniac in the middle of the street, waving a chainsaw around. And so,
as one does.
Yeah, there's a couple cool homages to that. But the other thing is, I wanted more Loaf.
Yeah,
there's not a whole lot of Meatloaf, and he doesn't do a whole lot of singing.
No, he sang
like 1.5 songs.
Yeah, 1.5 is an appropriate way to put it.
Yeah. So
I mean, like he does do a pretty good performance of being like super creepy when he's like,
oh yeah,
after he's murdered.
He's good. He's good in the movie.
Yeah, but we just didn't get enough.
Didn't get enough Meatloaf, and they kind of used Meatloaf to sell the movie, and I'm sure that's why they cast Meatloaf in the movie, is they wanted to put, it's a horror musical starring Meatloaf, because this movie did not do well. It made about $7,000 at the box office.
Oh,
which is brutal. Now, for like a Canadian movie, they don't usually rake in the big bucks at the box office because, even in Canada, we don't really play our own movies in theaters. It's not a whole lot of support for that kind of industry.
Yeah.
I do remember this was playing at the town cinema here in our local town for like a week, and I was like, oh, I should go see that horror musical, and I never did.
Yeah.
But yeah, $7,000. I don't know what it cost to make. I couldn't find any info on the budget, but I'm sure it cost more than $7,000.
It must have.
I'm sure they paid Meatloaf more than $7,000 to be in there. So yeah, not a winner financially.
Nope.
Or critically, I don't think. Yeah, I don't know. I keep going back and forth on how I feel about this movie because, like, there's definitely parts of it that I think are, good. Like, the music is good, the comedy is good, the gore is good.
Yeah,
all of it's good. It just doesn't all come together.
Yeah, like we can think of these parts, and we've talked about these parts, right?
Yeah.
But when you think back to having watched the movie, and it's hard to even just put them in order. It's hard to fit the pieces together, having just watched the movie recently, and think of the movie as a whole. Like, we break it down into these parts, and we're like, these are the things we like about it. But ultimately, it has no flow, right?
Yeah, no.
There's no cohesion to the different elements.
Not really. I would like a more straight up musical. Like, you kind of get a musical number every 10, 15 minutes kind of thing.
Yeah. That would be great.
And you could do, the funny song about how the killer likes to murder people in different ways, and about how he likes to say hilarious one-liners, and you could have that song. You could have the soft ballad about a girl wanting to be a star and impress her mother, and you could have more, big group numbers about getting, rehearsing for the musical and all that kind of stuff. And you could have Artie sing a weird, creepy song about how you should blow your way to the top. I don't,
Yeah. There was just so much potential. There's so much potential there. And yeah, there wasn't enough music. There wasn't enough. I just feel maybe there wasn't even enough dialogue. I remember we were like an hour 20 into the movie. It was just before the Show Must Go On song. Artie had just been killed. And Camilla and her twin brother are off somewhere on a dock. Trying to get over the shock. And Camilla's like sharing her feelings with her twin brother.
Yeah.
And I think she's never done that in this movie. And this is the most she's ever spoken.
It was like the most dialogue she'd ever had.
And it was like 4 lines.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, she's talking. This feels strange.
Yeah.
It's
super weird.
Yeah, it's like everything that happened was like plot device to motivate characters, but then there wasn't a whole lot of development for those characters.
Yeah. It left a lot to be desired, and ultimately it wasn't even like that entertaining. I mean, it wasn't. I don't know.
Yeah, there were parts, right? There were parts that were great.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we'd go like 10, 15 minutes silently letting it happen to us.
I mean, we were just the most entertaining part, I think, was just trying to figure out who the killer was going to be. And
yeah, it was nice that we had to keep guessing
we kept
for a
going
while.
around and around, but we always kept circling back around to the brother.
Yeah.
And that's who it was. But it can't even, there's not even a lot of jokes I can make about the movie. Like, sometimes hilarious stuff happens in movies, and we can, laugh about how bad it was. There was nothing in there where it's like, that was so bad, it was funny. That didn't really have anything.
Yeah, no. Like, there wasn't a craptacular element to this movie.
Definitely not. Do you want to take a shot at guessing Rotten Tomatoes?
It's got to be pretty damn bad.
Yeah, not great.
I'm terrible at guessing these numbers, but I'm going to throw out 27.
Ooh, that's what the audience gave it.
Oh, well, hey,
audience said 27. Critics said 35.
Oh, okay,
35%.
Which is
there might be a good
bad.
There might be a good movie to be made for mashing up the slasher and musical genres, but unfortunately, Stage Fright isn't quite it. I think we quite aptly expressed that ourselves.
Yeah, isn't quite it.
It's not. It's just it.
Good way of putting it.
Yeah, it lacks a little bit of everything, and you could probably make a lot better one.
Yeah.
So that's too bad. I assume we're both going to give it the same rating. Yeah. It's one big pile of shit.
That is one big pile of shit.
Absolutely.
It's not bad enough to be funny, and it's not good enough to be good, and it just sits in this really awkward,
lukewarm, bile,
meatloaf sweat. Just ugh. Yeah.
If you do want to watch it, you will be entertained at times, and then you will likely wish for your time back.
Yeah, and you'll be like, man, I wish that someone would make a better slasher musical. That's what I wish, because I'm like, oh yeah, you could make a whole lot of, like a real fun movie off this concept, but it's just kind of a turd.
Yeah, it was disappointing.
Which is unfortunate.
But if you've listened to this, then you know what all the good parts were.
Yeah. See if you can find them on YouTube. I'm sure there's some clips on YouTube. It's like all the best parts, or
Yeah, and
you can look up the various kills or
the
something like that.
actual musical numbers, pretty enjoyable, pretty humorous.
Yeah. It's it's whatever.
Yeah.
So don't go out of your way to see this one.
Yeah, it does not make the craptacular list.
This is how we celebrate our nation's birthday. By watching this piece of junk. Oh well.
Better look next year.
We're gonna go with something a lot more retro. I don't really like to do movies that were made within the last 10 years, really. And this is a 2014 movie, but I thought it kind of fit what we do here really well. But we're going to go back to the 80s next month. We are going to watch BMX Bandits.
Yes.
Which is
so excited.
Nicole Kidman's first movie, I believe.
Yeah.
In Australia. She and a gang of BMX riding teenagers raise hell in some Australian town. I don't know. Probably Melbourne. They all take place in Melbourne.
This is very likely.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited for that one. I got some some high hopes for that.
Good. Yeah, me too. Never seen it. I know Quentin Tarantino said that it, aside from the hours, it's his favorite Nicole Kidman performance. But Tarantino's a weirdo. We shouldn't really trust his opinion on anything, I don't think.
That is a fair point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Still looking forward to it, though.
Oh, yeah. Super excited for that. So stick around, here for when we talk about that one. And until next time, you can reach us at RetroCrapPod on Twitter and at gmail.com. You can listen to us on iTunes, subscribe, and rate and review. If you have time to give us just a quick rating and leave a tiny review, really helps us out a lot. We also have a YouTube channel, The Retro Craptacular. All the episodes are available on there if you prefer to listen on YouTube. We're on iHeartRadio, Google Play, Retro Craptacular. Just search it on any of those, and we're readily available anywhere you want to listen to your podcasts. Let us know if you watch this movie. Send us a tweet, leave a comment on YouTube or whatever, and let us know. Send us an email. Let us know what you thought about it. And until next time, keep watching crap.